I am so honored to have the Mystics back with us by popular demand, the international and national phenomenal musical quartet, the Doo-Wop musical quartet. George Galfo. Hi, George.
Hi, Nola, Joy. How's everybody out doing out there? It's nice here in Florida today.
Fantastic. Phil Cracolici. Phil, how are you doing?
How you doing? Hello, no the Joy. How you doing?
Thank
How's
you.
the weather out there? How's the weather in California?
Right now it's cool. A cool morning, but lots of sun. And
okay.
Rocky Marsicano, how are you?
Hi, NJ. Good to be with you.
Thank you. And Ralph Varrone, how are you?
Fine, Nola, Joy. How are you?
I'm just fantastic. And before we start, I want to make sure the viewers, the fans of the Mystics, step up to the plate. Now, don't be shy. It's your turn to ask questions of the Mystics. And hopefully we can get them all in today. And if not, they'll acknowledge them at a later time. But before we start, I want to mention that we are celebrating the Mystics' 62nd anniversary of their mega seller 1959 international and national hit Hushabai, and 64 years in the music and entertainment industry as experts. So congratulations, everyone.
Thank you.
It's a long time.
It is. And, and before I'd like to acknowledge, we do have a viewer, a fan, a big fan of yours, who sent in a question to me earlier this morning on the post. And he's Sal Gentile from Daytona Beach, Florida. And he wants to know, when did the group first start performing and when?
When we first started performing professionally?
He didn't say that, so I'm going to assume that's what he meant. I'm going to go out on the limb and say I'm going to assume that. We'll start with George.
Well, I can't remember the first performance we ever did. We did so many in 1959 when we first started after the record came out. Phil, you remember the first show we did?
The first show in '59 was the Fox. Well, that was the Fox Theater.
No, we did shows before that.
We had some small little venues.
Well,
I know that.
A lot of venues that we did. But the first big show was, I guess, the Fox Theater in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
10 days. With all our people that we looked up to all these years that were singing great hits, and it was a fabulous time.
Well, yeah, all right. Well, thank you for answering his question, and I'd like to bring everybody kind of up to date. The Mystic story began in Brooklyn, New York, and with 5 teenagers, Italian paisans to begin with, coming home from school and harmonizing on every street corner they could find space, because you were competing with what, over 600 groups practicing?
At the time, there was about 600 groups out, just in Brooklyn alone.
Okay, so everybody, I'm going to ask you one at a time, but I'll start with Ralph first. Ralph, what compelled you to sing?
Well, I had an uncle of mine in professional show business. He was on Broadway in a play called Paint Your Wagon back in the early 1950s. And I really looked up to him. And I just kind of followed what he did.
And what about you, Rocky?
Well, what got me interested is my father had me taking piano lessons like at 11 years old. I got really involved with music, played a lot of songs on the piano, gave it up since. And I started hearing in 1957 groups like the Oreos and the Flamingos. Later on, of course, the Mystics, and that got me involved with the local guys singing on the
Your voice is not too clear, Rock.
Okay.
Question.
And how about Phil? What compelled you to sing?
I just liked it. I was listening to radio a lot, listening to the old songs, and something that I wanted to do. And it sort of came natural to me as I was growing up.
And what was one of your favorite old songs that you listened to at that time?
Oh, well, it had to be the old artists. I could say Perry Como,
Okay.
Frank Sinatra, all the biggies.
All right. And George, what about you? What compelled you to sing?
Well, I started to sing before we got together with the Mystics with my brother and a couple other guys, and we did a couple of performances. And we really enjoyed doing it, getting together and appearing in certain little clubs that we did. And it just something that got in our blood, I guess, and got in my blood.
Mhm.
And the more we did it, the more we liked it. And then when we first got together with the Oberons, which was way before the Mystics actually came out, we started to get really good at it, and we didn't want to stop. Kept us out of trouble. In fact, we did a lot of getting together and harmonizing.
Another question that came in from a viewer prior to the live show is, what has been your biggest musical challenge? And we can start with Rocky on that one.
I guess my biggest challenge was going into the studio and recording with quite a few groups back in the day, including the Mystics. It is a challenge in the studio.
Mhm. And I'm sorry, Ralph, what about you?
I guess blending with the other 3 or 4 guys that you're singing with. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes you just don't mesh together. But it seems that the Mystics have a nice blend, and we have a nice sound now.
Right, you're friends forever. And Phil, what about you?
Let's see, the biggest challenge.
The
Well,
biggest musical challenge, yes.
I would say getting into a studio and recording, that was a challenge.
And I just,
Very nervous doing it.
and what was the
And it
challenge?
worked out.
I'm sorry, what was the challenge getting into the studio, that they were all booked, or they were what?
You say that again?
Sorry, when you said it was one of your biggest challenge getting into a studio, was it because the studios were already booked and it was hard to get a booking? Or,
Well, yes, that could be one of them.
all right,
They-
okay,
They
I'm
had
sorry,
the-
George.
Well, they always had the studios reserved for us. The biggest challenge was actually getting on stage in front of so many people. It was kind of very different. And for me, being a backward type guy, I always stayed in the back, wanted to do harmony and just listen to and blend in. It was kind of scary the first time we got on stage with so many people. But we did a lot of stock hops before we actually got on the big stage for smaller crowds, and you get used to it after a while. But still, today, even though we get on stage, you still get a little flurries in your belly.
But that's a good sign, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
another challenge is being so perfect in this, I mentioned studio, you have to be perfect once it's played back.
Studio is kind of more, you got to be right on the mark, or you should just wasting time and money as far as that goes. So that was a little more nerve wracking, I guess.
But most likely you prefer to perform with a live audience, because you can just, that's it, live, this is what you get, right?
Exactly.
I mean, if you, okay, before I continue with some of the questions, all of you just got together and performed last month for your first time since COVID-19. And I believe we checked in with you on October 14th last year with an exclusive interview. So I want to know what were your emotions when you were back on stage for the very first time and they announced your name? What went through your mind, or how did you feel? And we'll start with Ralph on that one.
Well, you always get a rush when they announce your name. You go running out there, and you hope that people like what you do. And since we hadn't done it in over a year, it was a little nerve-wracking, but once the music starts, you forget about all that and everything comes back to you.
How about Rocky? Rocky?
Oh yeah, you always get the butterflies in the wings ready to get announced. And once you get announced and you start doing your thing, it's like riding a bike. Do it. Have fun.
And George?
I concur with what they're saying. Yeah, we couldn't wait actually to get back on stage after a whole year of resting, not being in the public eye. It felt great. But as soon as you get out there and the music starts, you just, the adrenaline kicks in and it goes well.
And Phil?
Yes, just just waiting in the wings. And of course, like you said, George said, the adrenaline starts flowing. You start to get a little nervous. You're going to say, I hope I can remember the words to the songs.
Okay, so since that was your first performance since at least the COVID, what was your song? What was your number? What was your first song you sang that time in March?
Ooh, well,
You remember?
Take the star.
I don't
What
know.
was the question?
I'm sorry,
What was
what
the
was the first song you sang when they announced your name on stage? What did you begin with?
The opening number, we sang our second hit song, Don't Take
Right,
the
don't-
Stars.
Don't take the stars. Correct. Yeah.
I love that one. Okay, before I continue, I want to invite everyone who is watching us, and we do have viewers. They're a little bit shy. They're not posting their comments yet or their questions, so please
Well,
feel
don't be
free.
shy, we won't bite.
They won't bite. And hey, let's face it, there's no question that is a no-no. And if they don't have the answer, they will get back to you. So anyway, I'll take over for just a little bit. How did the early stages of harmony like barbershop, pop, gospel contribute to the development of the doo-wop music? George?
Gospel?
Well, no, yeah. How did the early stages of harmony, like pop, gospel, and barbershop, contribute to the development of the doo-wop music?
Well, the sound of harmony is what really was the whole thing, and getting together with a vocal group. Barbershop, I listened to a lot of barbershop at the time, and it was great harmony, hard stuff to do. And we just get together and try and mimic what we were hearing. And it gave us the courage to go ahead and try it and do it.
Okay. And Phil, what was,
Yes.
I'm sorry, what was your Spitfire? Okay, what was your Spitfire strategy in those days to elude the mob, which controlled every street corner when you were, rushing home from school?
Well, the strategy, I don't know if I can.
Running.
What could,
I mean, did you try to run around the corner and avoid them, or did you I don't know, pacify them
Oh.
maybe with candy? I mean,
Oh, no.
candy was-
When we harmonize on a corner, we love to stay there, let them listen to our singing, and we enjoyed that.
Oh, okay, that's
That
really,
was one of the biggest thrills of growing up and singing on the corners. It was unbelievable.
okay. I'm going to go there because one of the questions came to mind that you were young teenagers at the time. You were practicing all the time. If you weren't, munching on your favorite snacks like Double Dogs and Yankee Doodles, did anyone have time? Did anyone have time to participate in a sport, or was it just all music?
I played softball, baseball, hardball back in the day. Stickball, of course, in the streets, scoop ball, Chinese, handball, all kinds of games like that. Sports.
And Phil, what did you do? Were you just in?
Oh, yeah, all kinds of sports.
Okay,
A
and
lot of
George?
softball, baseball, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, well, before we really got into it and getting down to the nitty gritty of it, we had sports before that. But once we started to harmonize and getting together and singing, I think we left everything else behind at the time, and we did enjoy the crowds that were listening. So it was fun.
Your life was fused with peer pressure, organized crime, turf wars, and street corner harmonizing, all on the race to national stardom. So how did you achieve success without losing your souls? And George, would you like to start?
Well, it gave us soul. We didn't lose our soul. There was a lot of bad things going on at the time, and like I said, singing got us out of all that. There was a lot of mob style things going on behind the scenes. We tried to avoid them and stay good and safe and clean and do what we had to do without the help.
And Phil?
Well, it's the singing was an escape for us.
Yes.
That was the big thing.
Okay, all right. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm trying to read some comments coming in from the viewers, so be patient. We have Estella Villar, Cindy Vasquez, are watching us today and they want to say hi. They don't have a question, but they said hi.
Hi,
And then
Hi.
Hello, how you doing?
don't be afraid, ask the question.
I wish they would. I don't know why they're being so bashful. They're letting me do all the work and it's their, this supposed to be their fun time too. But anyway, we have someone from Jacqueline, I think her name is Jacqueline McDonald. And she says, love your performances. What criteria do you use for your song selection? Very good question. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Well, we use the songs that we recorded naturally. And we actually do cover songs that are hits at the time that people remember, the most famous ones that they can relate to. So that's what enjoyment we get out of it, and that's what they get out of it.
Okay, anyone else want to comment on that?
Ralph?
Bill?
Well, when it comes to doing other groups' songs, what we try to do is try to bring back their memory of when they were growing up and listening to those songs. We try to get as close as possible to the original sound so they enjoyed their memories.
Mm-hmm. I know that Hushabye, your #1 mega seller hit, not only nationally, but also internationally, it blessed you with a signature song that made you this mystic citizens of the world. So how has your 1959 #1 mega seller hit Hushabye transformed your lives today? And we'll start with Phil on that one.
How did it transform my life? It made me a better person. Let's put it that way.
Okay, all right, and George?
Well, yeah, it was kind of a great achievement. We didn't realize at the time how big the song would be. And today, no matter where we go, even when we went to Italy, we toured Italy and did the show there. You mentioned Hushabye, and they sing the words, even though they couldn't speak English on some of them, but they knew the words in Hushabye, they knew the song. So it was very, very gratifying to hear that. No matter where we went, everybody knew the words to Hushabye.
Right, and I believe Hushabye was sung by you and Phil, and was an Albie and Bob were part of that group, right?
Yeah, Albie is Phil's brother, my two uncles. Ali Contreras was the bass, and
Right.
Bobby Ferranti was our first tenor. And we just lost him recently, and it's a big loss to us.
My deepest sympathy. And also you mentioned Al Contreras. He is the author of Hushabye. It's a true story of the mystics, the music, and the mob. And if you don't have your copy, I would recommend it. It'd be a great gift coming up for Mother's Day or Father's Day too. Okay, moving along. Excuse me. Bill, we're going to take you back in time a little bit. And I want you to tell me how the Mystics got their name.
Well, we were searching, we had some crazy names, which wasn't working for us, but we were asked to pick a good name. Yeah, we all wrote down a name, and we sort of, the old thing we put in a hat. And everybody had to write their name of the song of what they want to call us. And we all put a name in the hat, and Al Contreras put his, George put his, Albie put his, Bobby put his. Don't remember what we said, but Al put his hand in the hat, sort of, picked out Hushabye.
Oh.
I mean, excuse me, Mystics. Mystics.
That's okay.
And he just said Mystics. And then we asked him, where did you get that from? And he says, well, I found it in the dictionary.
I love that name. And not only that, once we had the name of the Mystics, the other groups were known as what? The Classics and the Passions?
That's correct, yes. We all grew up together.
I know. And then since the Mystics really made it big, then you turned around and helped the other groups. I thought, right?
Yeah, yes, we did. That's when you brought them up to our manager, introduced them to Jim Gribble. and sort of history continued after that.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna take another, we have another viewer, not with a question, we're getting comments, so her name is Delores Hastings, and she says, hello, Mystics. I really
Hello,
enjoyed,
Delores.
I don't know.
he's enjoying it, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 again from Estella Villar, who's still watching. Come on, Estella Villar, don't be shy. Wherever you are, ask the Mystics a question. We're
Now's
glad
the
you're
time.
watching, but please ask a question.
How's
And
the
then,
time to do it?
okay, and then we have a Jacqueline McDonald again, I believe, and she wants to know, how did you hook up with Mort Schumann? So George or Phil want to take that one?
Well, actually, when we were signing up with Laurie Records, they had to get some writers up there to get some songs for us, original things. And Doc Thomas and Mort Schumann were a pair that came up and were the ones that wrote the songs for us at the time. And there were other writers coming in, but they chose, I think they did a lot of work with Doc Thomas and Mort Schumann.
Right, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it the time that you had another song that you really liked?
Yeah, the first song they wrote for us, the first recording we did with them professionally was Adam and Eve. So we had to get another side, and actually, you know, because of the 45s at the time, there's 2 sides. So we needed another song. And the first song that Pat Thomas Mort Schumann came up with was Teenager in Love. That was the first song that was submitted to us, and we really liked it. We knew it was going to be a hit after we started singing it. They knew it was going to be a hit, and you know, we were low on the totem pole there. Dion the Belmonts had a couple of hits already on the charts, and they knew that if they did it, they would get more sales for the recording. So they asked us, we had a discussion, and we ended up giving it to Dion. We didn't mind at the time. We were just glad to be there, actually.
All right, Rocky, I want to ask you, what was your secret for maintaining a wonderful relationship for over 23 years while you performed with Lenny Coco in the Chimes?
I think it's because we all came from Brooklyn, New York, so we all had the same persona, we had the same values, and we all loved harmony and Doo-Wop. And the guys that at that time we got along as we do now as brothers. It's basically it.
Okay. And Ralph, now you're began singing a cappella. How did that come about?
Well, like the rest of the guys, I'm a little younger, but I still sang on a street corner. And it was something that once you do it, you always want to do it after that. And even though the music changed in 1963, 64, when the British invasion came in, many years later, and I never thought I'd sing that way again, but the music started to come back. And I was lucky enough to join an a cappella group called the Traditions. And I sang with them for a couple of years. And then I really wanted to go with music because there was more work with music than a cappella. But once you sing a cappella and you get the right guys, it's something that, like George said, it's in your blood. It's something you always want to do.
And Ralph, you had a 26-year relationship as a lead singer and band leader for Whiskey Business. Tell us about that. I mean, and that was what, the premier oldie band in Long Island?
Yeah, we started back in 1986, and I never thought it would ever last that long. But as time went on, we had a good group of guys. I had tremendous musicians behind me. And we played in so many places that it just kept spreading and spreading. And we had more fans, and it was like being the Mystic of not being the Mystic.
Okay, I want to go back a little bit in time, and for, I believe, George and Phil, you performed on Dick Clark's American Bandstand. What was that like with all the teeny boppers?
That was very exciting. Well, at the time we were invited to do Dick Clark show, we were out west on a tour, in the Midwest tour. And we got a telegram from our and our manager called and said, there's a telegram saying that you guys are invited to be on the Dick Clark show. I said, well, how are we going to do that? We're way out in the Midwest. So they made all the arrangements for us to fly in, tape the show, and fly back. And it was a blast being on Dick Clark show with all the kids dancing and everything. Like we used to watch all the time at home. It was a real fun thing.
And Phil, what did you think about performing on the Dick Clark?
Oh, that was the thrill. That was a thrill of a lifetime because I used to watch Dick Clark all the time. Now to be on the show was a dream come true.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to kind of mix up with your singing along with dance moves at the same time?
Yes. Well, it was one funny thing about doing the Dick Clark show. When they called us, when we got notified to have to go fly in to do, I'm pretty sure it was a Saturday show.
Mm-hmm.
And they tape it. So we taped the show, then we had to fly back to, I think it was Iowa.
Yeah.
Go back to the tour. Now, the funny thing about it, we were in this bar.
Restaurant.
It was a restaurant or wherever it was.
Front bar. Okay, go ahead.
We're watching the taping of the Dick Clark show on a TV.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that are sitting next to me and say, wait a minute. How could you be on television and be here at the same time? We had to explain to them that it's just, we taped the show. They couldn't believe that they're sitting next to us and they're watching us sing.
They didn't know about all the technology then, that you could tape shows and still be somewhere else watching it. So the people were really amazed on that. It was fun.
So how was it performing as backup singers for Connie Francis?
Oh, that was great.
And give me an example. How great was it?
She was a big star at the time, and they asked us to do some background for her. That was a thrill in itself to ask us to do a background for Connie Francis.
And
we did.
You want to add to that, George?
During the session at night, it was late at night. She liked to record late at night. And she's very stern with the musicians. If they didn't play the right notes, she would get upset. She'd ream them out. But it was exciting, especially because she was a superstar. She had such a great voice, and we enjoyed being with her and meeting her personally.
Excuse me. I know you have created a timeless sound that has drawn international and national fans and for generations of loyal listeners. What is the future of doo-wop music today? And we'll start with Phil.
The future?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it never died like they said it would be. They said it would be go away after a while, but it didn't. I don't know about the future. It's hard to answer that question about doo-wop.
All right, Rocky, would you like to?
I think it'll never go away. And we got to give credit to the young kids that are doing it today. It's really a lot of young kids that are singing doo-wop now and carrying on.
And what about Ralph?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what Phil said. I on different sites, I see young kids singing this music acapella. And I can't believe that they're not singing their own music, that they're singing our music. It's refreshing and it's rewarding.
And George, what about you?
Well, everybody laughed at the time, said, we'll give it 5 years and that thing will disappear. Well, here we are 62 years later, singing professionally, and still doing doo-wop. And believe it or not, I get a lot of CDs mailed to me from fans in Europe and France, Spain, and they're sending me the CDs, and they're doing doo-wop today. The younger guys doing doo-wop, and they're terrific. I mean, they're really into it, and I'm really happy that they are getting back to it. Everything comes back in a cycle, and hopefully it'll come back with the vocal groups again.
That'd be nice. Maybe in the future you could have the Mystics and invite some of the younger singers with you and kind of do a special performance.
You mean to perform on stage?
Yes, why not? Yes.
Well, that's
That'd be
hard
great.
to arrange.
That would be, yeah, I mean, it's something to think about, right?
You
It
know,
could-
it's up to the promoters how they want to run the shows. It's not for
Exactly.
us to invite people up. We can make suggestions of sometimes of who should be there, but it's up to the promoters who they want on the show, especially multiple act shows.
talking
Do our
about-
own shows, it's different. If there's people, a local group in the audience, we'll have them come up and do a song and have fun. And it's great to do that because we like to hear other people singing our stuff.
Right.
There's a lot
Talking-
of single artists also that do music, guys by themselves that do solo.
Well, talking about performances, I also know you perform from time to time for the veterans. And now, George, you were in the Air Force, and Phil, you served in the Navy, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So how has serving in the military influenced the way you live today? And we'll start with Phil.
Let's see. Joining the Navy at the time kept me out of trouble. It kept me off it kept me off the streets. I just wanted to do my part.
All right.
And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much, traveling halfway. We didn't go all around the world, but halfway around the world, seeing other countries and seeing other people, how they live. That was just a good experience for me.
And George?
Well, we never actually sang for the military, which we would have loved to. Would have been an honor to do so. And just never got the opportunity to do a nice show for the military overseas or anyplace else. But they seen videos of us and everything else. But when we were together in the service, we always had a bunch of guys get together and harmonize and fool around with the singing, even though it was just, to waste time on the bass and get together and have fun.
Okay. Now, the internet has certainly changed the musical landscape dramatically. So what advice would you give the next generation of the doo-wop artists?
Don't ever quit. Don't ever give up. Enjoy what you're doing. It becomes a great pastime in your life and something that you'll never forget. It's a good experience to do.
Ralph, what would you advise?
Pretty much the same. Once they start, like I said, it gets in your blood, and it's something you could do for God forever.
And Rocky?
I would say try to do some new material in a doo-wop style. I mean, that would be nice. Put some doo-wop in a modern era.
And Phil?
Yeah, I agree with that, what Rocky just said.
Thanks.
Okay. Oh, I have a question coming in from Estella Villar, and she wants to know, is there going to be an opportunity when the Mystics will actually perform in Northern California, especially maybe in Sacramento, California, the state capital? Anyone?
What was the question? When we would be there?
No, she wants to know, is there any time soon or in the future that the Mystics would be performing in Sacramento, California?
Well, I hope so.
We'd love to go to California. We've been there a couple of times already.
In Sacramento?
No, it was in,
Southern California.
yeah, it was in Southern California. And yeah, there was a couple of places. There was some nice shows and nice promoters. And I talk to them every once in a while, but not everybody's doing anything at the time.
Right.
I'm sure they know that. Shows haven't been going well because nobody's going to shows today. Everything's closed down because of the virus.
Right.
But we're waiting to start up again, and hopefully we can get some offers to come down to California. We'd love to perform there.
We'd love to have you too. Also, I have a question coming in now from Cindy Vasquez. Okay, she says, hi, not sure if you have the answer to this, but do you write your own lyrics? And if so, what inspires you when you write your lyrics?
Writing a song.
Also, I'm sorry, what inspires you when you write your lyrics? I had to continue reading. I'm sorry.
Actually, we'd love to write our own lyrics, but that's a great talent, and it's not easy to do. We've tried it a few times, and we did write a few songs in the beginning that we did record and brought up to the record departments, companies to hear us with our original stuff. And that's as far as we got with doing original stuff. And it's a blessing for people that do that, that can put words together and make a song up. I mean, it's not easy. We tried that.
All right, well, thank you, Cindy Vasquez, for your question. All right, excuse me. Going back a little bit in time, I'll be asking to one of you, what were your emotions when you were inducted into the Doo-Wop Music Hall of Fame? And we'll start with Ralph.
Well, the Mystics were. I wasn't part of that, being only in the group for 3 years. But I'm sure the other two guys, and Ali and Albie, I'm sure they were thrilled.
And Phil?
Oh, yes, that was a thrill to be finally recognized.
And you know where it was? In California.
It was in California. It was in California. Yes.
That was good. That was good. And it was what, 2015, right?
Right, exactly.
And Rocky?
Well, I was with the group back then, and it was a great honor to be in that show and watch my fellow brothers get inducted.
Okay.
An honor.
What is a landscape like when you're an artist struggling to make it? And we'll start with Rocky.
Oh, sorry, say that again.
Oh, I'm sorry. What is a landscape like when an artist is struggling to make it?
Well, there's times when an artist doesn't have the opportunity to perform due to things that happen, especially in a pandemic. So that's a little bit on the downside.
All right. And excuse me, if you could change anything in the music industry today, what would that be? And we'll start with Phil.
Well, repeat that again.
Yes. If you could change anything in the music industry today, what would that be?
To change?
If you could change.
That's a hard question to answer.
All right, we'll give
I
you
wouldn't
time.
know. I wouldn't know. Tell you the truth.
All right. And what about George?
Change?
You know, if you could change anything in the music industry, what would that be?
Oh, I could change anything in the music industry, which I don't think I had the power to do. It would, well, it's a hard question to answer. I wouldn't want to change anything. I like to change the style of music at times that I'm not crazy about. And not mentioning any kind of style, but there are a lot of different styles out there that I do like. But we like the old goldies, old performers that were done in the 50s, 40s, going back to Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and Bobby Darin and all those guys. That was great music.
What about you, Rocky?
I think my concern would be the lyrics of some of the songs today are very negative and disappointing in many ways. I'd like to see the lyrics, like love songs, etc.
All right, excuse me. Okay, and Ralph.
Rocky's stealing my thunder. That's what I would have said. lyrics that you can understand.
Okay.
And not talking about, bad things, so to speak.
Because I know we have all dealt through our lives with personal tragedies, and we'll start with Ralph. How have you dealt with them?
Well, I guess the loss of my mom and my parents, it happens to everybody. It's just something that, when it happens, it's a shock, but over the years, you just learn to deal with it.
And Phil?
Well, we have, of course, your family, you have these personal tragedies, and then you have your best friend. For instance, Bob Ferrante.
Mm-hmm.
That was a tragedy for the group.
Yes, and it happened last year. Yes.
Yes, because Bob Ferrante actually, he started the group before it was a group. He was the first person who brought the idea up. And if it wasn't for him, we would have never been what we are today.
And Rocky?
Well, of course, like Ralph said, it's my parents when they passed away. And I have a photo here of a group called the Riffs that I used to be with in the 70s. And I'm the only one that's still in this picture. So that's a memory for me that everybody in this picture is now passed on except for myself.
Well, you hold that picture up. Which one is it the second one to the left? No, right there.
I'm over here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got it backwards. Yes. From,
That's what I'm talking about. It's guys that you used to sing with and perform with that are no longer with us also, besides family.
okay. Excuse me, and George.
Well, the only thing about getting old is you start losing a lot of people that your family and friends. And it's one of the hardships of getting older. It's not a benefit naturally, but life has to go on. And you just have to continue doing what you're doing. And I think the music keeps us well alive on that respect, to keep us going and enjoying what we have today and continue with our lives.
Well, thank you. And before we leave, I'd like to ask each one of you, what message would you like to leave with your audience and your fans? And we'll start with Rocky.
Okay, just thank everybody for being here and listening in. Of course, you and Jay. Just tell everybody, be safe out there. Keep listening to the Mystics and all kind of music. Yeah.
And Ralph?
I'd like to thank everybody for the support, the shows that we go to. And I mean, you have to be there at the end of the show, people asking for autographs and signing pictures. It's really quite gratifying. We thank them for all the support.
And Phil?
Yes, I second that emotion as far as that support. We'll be looking forward to, for instance, the people who are calling in now I hope we can meet them in our future shows.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. And George?
Yes, that's true. I wish we could meet all of them in our future shows. And some of them, a lot of them do show up. And, it's nice to meet them in person. When we have a break in the middle of the show, an intermission, we do meet a lot of our fans. And we like to discuss the personal things with them. And they enjoy seeing us and talking to us and signing autographs. It's very gratifying for them.
Okay, I have a few comments coming in. Another one is from Jacqueline McDonald, and she says, great answers, and she wants to thank all of you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And from Roseanne Micah, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She says, hi, everyone. Great to see all of you and can't wait to see you in the future.
We can't wait to see them and get back on stage and getting into it full bloom. It's been a long wait.
Right, and you will be performing in next month in May, correct?
There's a lot of shows that are still being, postponed to later dates, rescheduled. We're filling up 22 right now because all the shows that we had postponed are going into 2022. And we'll be doing a lot of shows. They can go on our website, theoriginalmystics.com, and they can always see our page where we're going to be performing.
Right, and I do have that link for them to visit their website. Well, before we go, I want to thank Ralph Varrone, Rocky Marsicano, George Galfo, and Phil Cracolici, and all the Mystic fans who have joined us today. And if you still have questions, just write them in the comments below the post, the live interview, and I know the Mystics will get back to you. And I also want to thank Joni Sperling, who is the Mystics manager, and she keeps the Mystics on their toes, as well as producing the very creative website. So check out their website for their upcoming concert tours, and also check out their stores. Their store, I believe you have some autographed pictures too, correct? And
that's correct.
Right. Okay. Until next, I want to make sure that we invite you on again, maybe in 5 or 6 months for a checkup. And also I'd like to do a live interview with the original Mystics, including Al Cantera and Albie Cracolici too.
We could always set that up.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. So until next time, on behalf of the Mystics, create heaven in your heart and starlight in your soul.
Thank you, Nola Joy. We've enjoyed being here today. And I hope everybody listening enjoyed it as well. Thank you.
Buy the book.
Yes, by the book,
By
Hushabai,
the book.
story of the mystic
By the book.
mob.
Al
Okay,
Cootrera, the author.
okay.